Hi, so today we are reviewing the Audio-Technica MSR7 headphone. This headphone is a full-size sealed headphone that retails for around $250. I believe this was released either early this year or late last year, but it's one of the it's a recent headphone from Audio-Technica. If you could notice that if you're familiar with the Sony MDR1R headphone, you would notice that it's quite the same in terms of looks, especially with this veil here and the shape of the ear cups. But comparing it to the MDR1R, this one is a little beefier, heavier than it because also has a tighter clamping force. This is not a big sealed headphone, but because of how beefy it seems to be, it feels like a little heavy. It feels a little on the bulky side, especially if you're wearing it, which has a lot to do with its clamping force, especially out of the box. It hugs your head quite tightly, and I over time I feel like the clamp would get better as it loosens up a bit. So the headphone itself is built pretty well. This is hard quality plastic. This one is plastic. The ear cups are made of protein leather, which is sumptuous and very soft. The padding, there's a padding on the entire headband here, and it's I believe it's also protein leather because it feels the same as this one. Comfort-wise, it's a comfortable headphone, but as I said, the clamp can and the weight can make it uncomfortable after some time. So that's something that you may want to consider if you're too iffy about comfort and clamp. The headphone comes with three cables, which is this one is the standard cable. The other one is the smartphone cable, which has a remote control. The other one is a cable similar to this, but it's longer. It connects to the left ear cups here, and it doesn't have any twist lock mechanism. However, the connector, I'm not sure if you can see, it has a thin stuff here. So if you're going to buy aftermarket cables, then you may want to consider that because it has to go in not just this part, but if the cable that you purchased doesn't have a small part here, then you may not end up plugging it entirely inside the ear cup. It also comes with this pouch, drawstring pouch, which is very typical of Audio-Technica. They never include a hard carry case for their portable headphones, but this one feels pretty soft, but does very little in protecting your headphone from in case someone stepped on it or it's jammed inside a bag. But then again, the headphone itself is pretty rugged, so that shouldn't be that much of a problem. The box looks like this. It's a standard box for a $250 headphone, and that's how it looks like. Now back to the headphone itself. The sound is fabulous in one word. I thought that it really is an amazing sounding headphone. The tonality is a little bit on the bright side of things. Upper mid-range is emphasis, mid-treble is emphasized, but as a whole, the clarity of treble, mid-range, and bass is very good for a $250 sealed headphone. Bass is tight and very punchy, unlike the ATH M50, which is quite loose in bass, and the bass also bleeds a bit into the mid-range. This one doesn't, and while it rolls off at around mid-bass, I like the bass to mid-range transition because the bass doesn't at all bleed into the mid-range. So you hear the music you hear it really well, and it's nice to have a headphone like that because most headphones have that hump around the mid and upper bass, and that kind of bleeds into the mid range, which makes it, you know, a little colored sounding. The mid range is linear before it gets emphasized a bit around the upper mid range area, and what it does is it makes the voice more prominent, but at the same time, the entire music becomes more forward sounding. I like headphones or earphones that have emphasis in upper mid range. However, some headphones don't do it well because when upper mid range is emphasized, it tends to make the voice nasal or the overall music to be shouty. Kind of like the Grado sometimes, but this one, it's the emphasis is not too much, so it just makes the music more forward sounding, and contributes to its you know, quite bright tonality. For treble is a bit uneven, but for a sealed headphone, it's very good. The mid treble is emphasized, and while it may sound bright, it's still a very clear sounding headphone, especially because of how clear because of the clarity of the treble here in this headphone. I even compared it to the Beyerdynamic DT880, and while the DT880 has a better extension, more air, because it's an open headphone, I didn't feel like there's that much advantage over this headphone. The DT880, of course, is an open headphone, so it in theory sounds better than this, but it also is thinner sounding relative to this, and the texture of it is a little metallic, whereas this one, it's very dynamic, it's very punchy, and the treble doesn't sound too brittle to me. So definitely this headphone can match well with some open headphones in terms of treble resolution, and which is very nice because sealed headphones aren't known for, you know, aren't known for treble. If a sealed headphone is bright, then it's just bright, but it's not the case with this headphone because it sounds it conveys high frequency notes really well. The soundstage, doesn't have the biggest soundstage of all, but I didn't feel like it's a close headphone. I like how the soundstage is for a sealed headphone. I didn't feel like the NAD Viso HP50, which has this room feel technology, I didn't feel it has that much of an advantage over this. It doesn't have a big soundstage, but it doesn't feel like an in-your-face type of soundstage, which is common with most sealed headphones of this type. Isolation, passive noise isolation, it is above average. I think if you're going to be using it in office, then it can really do the job well for you. It can block out noise. If you're going to be using it for commuting, then it can also help, but not that much. So you may have to crank up the music a little bit because while it isolates you passively from outside noise, it doesn't do it that much. I can hear some low frequency noise still coming in, but as a whole, it does a good job in that regard. What else? I think that's pretty much it. If I would buy a $250 headphone, then this one is at the top of my list for sure. It's hard to pass up on a headphone that sounds this good, that has good balance, especially if you like your music to be neutral or slightly brighter than neutral. I like the NAD Viso HP50, but compared to this, I felt like this one has advantage over the HP50 in terms of my preference, because the HP50 can sound too warm at times, especially, which is not good if you're listening to, you know, fast music or progressive rock. But as a general purpose headphone, the HP50 Viso is still good. It suits more genre than this, I suppose. But this one is also a pretty flexible headphone in terms of genre. I could listen to pop, R&B, or dubstep in this headphone, and still feel like I enjoy the music. So that's it. This is the review of the Audio-Technica MSR7 headphone. Hope you enjoy, and let me know what you think in the comments.